Hey Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. In the pre-shuffle, I was seeing what looked like being ready to tackle something that maybe before you didn't feel like you were ready to be doing it. Now you can feel like you are. We are starting off with the Death card. When we have Death, it speaks about being in the process of a transition that's taking place. It can be something that requires a lot of surrendering, only because it's going to be easier if you just kind of like allow what's going to need to happen here. Surrendering is about syncing up with the flow of things and not resisting the flow of things. Surrendering isn't just like giving up or whatever. It's kind of just like getting out of your own way here with whatever this is that's happening. And I think being deliberate too with the way that you're using your energy. So if you were using your energy before to kind of like fight the current, it can be a time when you stop resisting. Only to honor the direction that things are meant to unfold within. This can be a big change on the emotional front / spiritual front, because we have King of Cups here. It does look overall like things are moving forward quickly. But that also means too that it can be pushing you into a time when maybe there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air. You can be faced with a lot of choices or just like a lack of clarity that this brings you into. Maybe it also brings you into a place of, I don't want to say emotional turmoil, but it can be a time when this can be bringing you into a time when there's a lot that you can be kind of like moving through on the emotional front. And maybe this was something where you were like, I was putting off having to deal with this, or like I didn't want things to feel unclear. I didn't want to address this, and now I do have to address this, and I wish that it was just like everything fit neatly into a box, and it feels like a time when that's not really happening, if you're to be honest with the way that you're really experiencing this. And maybe you feel like not in the best place because of that. It's kind of like, here is all of this stuff that is meant to be dealt with, like all of this emotional paperwork that has to be gone through. And there can be a part of you that's like, I don't want to have to do this right now. But at the same time, you can be like, I'm going to stay feeling like this if I don't address this. But it just seems like kind of overwhelming to address and sort of like figure out what's what right now. And it can be a time where what you knew to be sure and clear before is changing. And this feels like a lot of stuff that has to do with how your awareness is present to what's going on, present to the experience that you're having, and also what you think about and how you're feeling about the experience that you're having. And it does feel like there's a lot of different stuff that's going on right now. There can be this part of you that's kind of like, I'd rather be anywhere else other than dealing with this. But at the same time, you can know that you're going to stay feeling like not good unless this is something that you're willing to confront. It's kind of like wanting to do any other homework assignment than this one, but this is like the only one and the most important one and the biggest one to be focusing on right now. I think too, like your priorities can be changing. That's something big. Changing because they're evolving. This isn't just changing something just to change it. It's kind of like new things are becoming more important to me, different things are becoming more important to me. And also too, stuff that I was focusing on and prioritizing before, that's also going through a shift too. Like some things may not be so important to you anymore. And you can be realizing that. And you can see that like you had a different agenda before when you were in a different energy. And now that you're like coming into this energy, there are different things that matter to you. And it can be a time too where what matters to you is like your well-being and how you're feeling about things and like what's going on in the emotional front. And maybe that wasn't something that was being prioritized for whatever reason. The reason doesn't really matter. It's just that there is something that's that's changing. It's kind of like a new wave that's coming through, and you can be like, well, if this stuff is changing now, my priorities are changing, then what am I meant to be prioritizing and what really matters to me? And I think that's where you can be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be like focusing on and like thinking about. And I think it's just going to be a time when you can be presented with a lot of different things, and you're having a bit of a difficult time maybe like picking out of everything that's surfacing right now. But the more you move through this and the more you wade into this, I think more stuff is going to be clarified, but avoiding it altogether is just going to put off something that you know is sort of coming up for you now. It can be a time too when you're, I think more than anything, this is actually about admitting what matters to you now, and that that's different than what mattered to you before, and that you do have different priorities. But you know, when you're in a transition, you don't feel totally like 100% solid on what this like new vibe looks like for you. So I think you're just like in that transitionary space, which can feel kind of like ambiguous and a little bit confusing as you're making sense of things. So it's not like you go from one thing black and white to another thing black and white. You're kind of in that in between, and it can feel uncomfortable because of that. Because things feel different, and it's kind of hard to describe as well, like what all of this really means. And I think that this is also coming for, part of this is coming for an aspect of your identity. And that can also be kind of confusing as well, because you're like, if it's not this, then what is it? And what does that mean to me? Getting confirmation of this. It's weird, like the way that the energy is coming through is knowing that this change is happening and that it is manifesting through you, but at the same time there definitely being resistance to it. But it's like you kind of fighting with yourself a bit here, because you're only going to go through a change when you're ready to go through that change. And that change is happening now, but there can be another part of you that's like, no, trying to push it off a little bit from happening. Because I think that this can be something that takes away a certain sense of stability. Even though it's time for it to change, there can be a feeling of, this felt so clear to me, and now this makes things not feel clear in the same way anymore. And my resistance comes from wanting to resist that sort of change, because then who am I within all of this? And that can be a big question that's being asked here of, how do you honor the truth of what it is that you're feeling, and kind of what you are peeling back the layers of, only to reveal yourself more clearly. So this is just getting some stuff out of the way that it's time for it to fall off. But there can be a feeling of vulnerability with this happening, because you don't have that extra cover or protection anymore. Like things are getting more real now, and there can be a feeling of not feeling comfortable, I think, more than anything. Something too is that there can be something going on that's connected with the people that you spend time with and who shows up for you at this time, and like who you're connecting with as well, socially, emotionally. And there can be some stuff within your social circle that's kind of shifting around in some area of your life, like whether this be your personal life or your work life. Like I'm definitely seeing something happening here where I see plans coming through, and I see people's energy being around you, and I think you maybe like haven't been feeling like you're in the best place, but I'm also seeing that's going to be changing too. Because whatever this transition is that you've been going through, even if it feels more subtle, I'm seeing there be this, it's like being underwater, and this is going to be the moment when your head breaks the surface and you get a big breath of air and you feel lighter and like more buoyant. But I'm seeing you've been going through a process where that hasn't been really happening until this point. And there's stuff about where things are going. These things are becoming more clear to you too. You also maybe haven't been a huge fan of the kind of like balancing and multitasking that this has been asking of you, because this feels like you have a shifting plate here of what it is that's going on right now and what it is that you're tending to. And maybe there's a part of you that's like, I just like to focus on one thing at a time, but you haven't really been allowed to be doing that within the cycle. It's been requiring more of you than that. And there can be a part of you that's like, I don't like to have all of these different things going on. I feel like I'm just juggling a whole bunch of stuff right now, and I don't prefer to do things in this way. But you almost like didn't really have an option otherwise. But now something is happening too, where this can be something is being taken off of your plate. And it's like you didn't want to be juggling this stuff anyway, so I think it's going to be a relief, but it can also feel like kind of sad simultaneously, where it's like, yeah, I didn't want to be doing this dance anymore. I didn't want to have to like be juggling all these things, but now that something is being taken off your plate, I'm looking at O here, kind of patting her way over here. Yeah, it can be It can be a time where you're like, I didn't want to be doing all this stuff and I didn't want to be juggling all of this stuff, but at the same time to kind of like give something up, even though you're happy because you didn't want to be doing this anymore, but at the same time it's almost like losing something, even though it's not really. It's like things change and things are evolving, and this is just like your storyline progressing. And things being clarified to you, where it's like not really appropriate for you to have all these things going on anymore, because a path is being chosen and a path is being clarified, but that also means you don't have those other options anymore. So even though it's like, I don't really want to juggle all these options, and so there are options that are being taken off the plate, it's like still coming to terms with stuff being taken off the plate. And so you can have mixed feelings about that, because you're like, yeah, I didn't want to be juggling all of this stuff, but at the same time, my world is getting maybe a little bit, I don't know, like, is it smaller? Is it just more concentrated? Is it just more focused? But then you like lose kind of the variation that was happening before, even though it seems like you didn't really want that variation to begin with. And I think that it's okay to have both of those things going on, where it's like when you're involved in a situation and you know that it's best for it to be coming to an end, but it can still be sad that that is coming to an end. It's like this sort of thing that you're moving through. And I am also seeing what looks like, I'm seeing support that you have. So now can be a time when you have like friends that are really coming through for you. It can be a time where if you've been wanting things on the social front to liven up, you can really be seeing that too. And this can be helping you navigate at a time that can feel a little bit intense or a little bit stressful or a little bit like unknown, kind of like undetermined. I think now can be a time when you're like, yeah, that support feels really useful to me. But I'm seeing too that also like your social relationships, it looks like that is going through a bit of a shift as well. But it's kind of like coming out on the other side and seeing other people that align with you when you're out on the other side, and that this can be something that you're seeing come together now, where before when you were in more of a transition, maybe you were like kind of more alone. Now looks like a time when there's more stuff coming together on the social front for you, and you can be feeling like you have more company now and like it's less lonely as well. Yeah, so it seems like less and less you're at a crossroads, but then that whole like, I'm not really at a crossroads anymore, and I am picking a way, I'm picking a direction, I'm picking a path. I'm seeing Scorpio here. I think that about covers it. Yeah, we're going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting and tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.